So, um, I wouldn't say that I've ever crashed out on this app, but you know, some things are questionable, so whatever. But here's another one, if so. I seen this post from someone else who actually had brought it up, and I was like, you know what? Yeah. Um, so they passed something that they're trying to pass is kids and cell phones at school. I don't know if you've heard of it. But here, I've seen a lot of talk about how they're going to ban phones at schools and everything like that. And here's my 2 cents on that particular thing and some of the things that I've experienced. Now, I personally, I understand it, but I also don't agree with it at the same time, because how I feel about the situation is that I should be able to get in communication with my kid with everything else that's going on. Now, should my kid be on their phone while they're trying to learn or be a distraction of any sort? No. But any times that my kids ever contacted me, it's never been an issue. It's never been something that she's gotten in trouble for having her phone when she's not supposed to, things like that. Like, she'll contact me when she's able to contact me. But here's my idea of that entire situation. I have an 11-year-old, she's almost 12. She has a phone. Had she not had a phone this past year, I would not have known that girls lured her to the bathroom to fight her. I got a call probably an hour later from the principal about the situation, maybe even longer. I had already known about it before I was even contacted about it. I also wouldn't have known that these said girls also took a video and airdropped it the very next day at the school while my kid was there. So the entire school, she's in middle school, the entire school got this said video, and she was being terrorized for it. She messaged me, picking you up, because no, we're not going to put you in a situation where you get terrorized by other kids, because it needs to be handled. She contacted me then. Another thing is we're going through a custody battle right now, and mom of her likes to just go and constantly just pick her up randomly. And even though she's in our custody and things like that, we need to know if she's just being picked up and taken. My whole thing that I was talking to my husband was like, if they ban schools this next coming year, she hasn't seen her mother since May for Mother's Day. We're in July now, because the last time she's seen her mother, she was drinking and driving with her in the car. And so when school starts up, if she randomly gets picked up in the middle of the day because she's mom and they just say so, even if she's on paperwork, not on paperwork, whatever the case may be, she just picks her up. We won't know until she just doesn't show up from school, or we try to go pick her up from school and she's nowhere to be found. And so it's like, she could skip state and go to a whole nother state by the time we found out that she's been taken. And me, that doesn't sit straight and settle right with me, because, how are we going to know? School's not going to contact you to tell you that your kid was picked up by somebody else at school if they come up and say their mom, or whatever the case may be. And so, like, no. The last time she just randomly picked her up, she texted me automatically. I had her location. I had all these things. Like, she picked her up to go fishing in the middle of a day instead of letting her be at school, because truancy wasn't going to be on her. It'd be on us. And so, those situations. Also, we're in Texas. There has been numerous amount of mass, pew-pew, like, in schools, where kids have contacted their parents while they're in schools because they've heard, something while they're in the bathroom. They heard this sound, things like that. So it's like, yeah, I want my kid to have their phone, because I want to be able to get in contact with them. I want to be able to make sure that they're okay. I want to be able to give them advice if they're there and they're texting me from a bathroom and they're like, what do I do? I want to be the one who's able to answer right back to them and tell them what they should do in that situation, because they're terrified. There's many of different reasons as to why. Also, my kid misses the bus because they don't let them out of athletics soon enough, and the bus leaves before they let these kids out of athletics. They're just sitting up at the school. Yeah, you can say all day long that, they can contact the teacher, or, they can call from the school and stuff like that. It still defeats the purpose. It still defeats the purpose. When my kid's on the bus, if she decides to ride the bus, we've had incidents on the bus. We've had incidents where the bus driver put her hands on my kid And she called me and got on video chat with me while it was happening, and I showed up where she was because she puts me on video chat, and I see her grabbing at my kid. And as soon as she seen me on the thing, she, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, is one of those things where she didn't have her phone. She can't communicate with me like that. My nephew was put on in a chokehold on a school bus where a bus and a bus aide did nothing. He was put in the hospital back in October and had strokes. Had his sister not called my sister to let her know what was going on, they wouldn't have known about it until later on. Like, the boy would still have been a hold of him because they had to call the bus barn and get the bus barn to communicate with the bus driver to tell him to pull over. Had she not been allowed to have her phone at school, she wouldn't have had her phone to be able to communicate. He could have died right then because the boy wasn't letting go. They had to pull the bus over for that. So I feel like, no, I don't feel like that's okay. I feel like if they enforce that entirely and the kids can't even bring their phones with them, like, I don't care if they're like, okay, don't bring them in the classroom, whatever. But if they can't actually bring them to the school and have them in like their bag or something like that, my kid's being homeschooled. Because I'll be damned. That's just my crash out for the day.